Hi, we are making some ginger tea with lemon and honey for our talk. These small gingers are so cute. This one looks like a crab. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about determinism and if we actually have free will. I have some of my notes here on my phone, so I will be checking sometimes, and for definitions, I'd like to give you the whole definition, so then I will refer here. So determinism is the idea that everything is caused by something else, kind of like a chain reaction. For example, if you are raised in a specific environment with certain beliefs, values, and challenges, it's going to influence how you think and behave. And when we add biology into this, our genes, that also means that a lot of our choices that we think that ours is not entirely ours. There are a lot of factors that go into our choices and our decisions. So I'd like to give a simple example. What is your favorite food? And did you choose it? And why is that food your favorite food? So let's think about this. Did your upbringing decide that for you? Maybe it's a dish that your family cooked for you, so you were eating it since you were a kid. Or maybe it's a cultural thing. Depending on where you grew up in the world, you had those cultural foods, so that those were the options that you had. So your favorite food is one of them. And neuroscience backs this up. Experiments show that our brain makes decisions before we're consciously aware of them. So when you pick up a chocolate over an apple, your brain had already decided. It's kind of like a split decision, and your conscious mind is catching up. So if determinism influences our choices, capitalism takes this to a whole new level. And it happens in such ways that it's so quick and it's really inconspicuous. We are not even aware of it most of the times. And it's such a crucial part of our lives for such a long time in the society. It is kind of looked over. Okay, let's say that we're going shopping, because when we're going shopping, we're making a lot of decisions, and everybody goes shopping, and we do that really regularly, right? For anything. It can be grocery shopping, it can be clothes, or anything else. So you walk into a grocery store. There are a lot of toothpaste, like maybe 15, 20 of them. And there's a lot of varieties. There's whitening ones, there's charcoal ones, there's minty ones. So it feels like we're in control because we can choose among all these options. But when we go deeper into why we might be choosing that toothpaste, we have some things that affect our decision. So it might be that you saw an ad on a TV last week or last night, and it stuck with you in a subconscious, but you have no idea. And the way these ads work is they have such a specific target group based on age, gender. When these ads do such a good job at targeting you, you do not even realize that you are affected by that decision. And of course, a lot of other things go into this, like the packaging, and it could be the price as well. If something is on sale, you might make a decision to buy that toothpaste instead of another one, because everybody has a budget and affordability is a big part of this as well. Because world revolves around money, of course. Everything we do is based on money. We can't really do a lot of free things. So most of the things, I would say 99% of the things we do is based on money. So depending on our budget, we make decisions. Or it could be that your parents bought you this and you never changed it. So this means that it has been already decided for you depending on what kind of family you grew up in. So that it has been decided for you depending on what kind of family you were brought up with. So you see what's happening here. You think that you're making an independent choice, but there are a lot of factors that go into it. But the system makes you do this. Everybody is affected by this, and this is what their target is. It's through marketing, branding, and upbringing, as I said. So let's talk a little bit more about consumerism and manufactured needs here is where it gets really sneaky. Capitalism doesn't just give us choices, it creates desires. This is a very important point because it convinces us that we need things even though we don't. So let's say new iPhone, right? You have a perfectly working phone with you and you've been using it for a long time and everything is fine with it. But all of a sudden, it becomes trending. Everybody has the newest iPhone. So you're affected by your social circle, by the ads, by social media now especially. So you feel like you need this, and this gives you an empty hope. So the buzz, the shiny logo, and just the empty promise that this thing will make you happy, successful, or more creative. It's because they want to keep us spending. So that's why now also fashion trends are changing much more faster. And then we have access to it a lot more than we had before with social media, all the trends going by. So for all of these, we feel really tempted to get them and to own them. It's also because we want to fit in and we want to be part of the society. This is the basic human behavior. And if we talk about food, food is also packaged like that. Think of the slogans that they have. You deserve a break today. This is McDonald's. Have it your way. Burger King. Because they know that eating fast food makes you feel guilty, these slogans are kind of designed to make you feel less guilty. And it feels empowering and it feels like you're making a free choice to eat a burger. But behind the scenes, they're shaping how you think. So, is free will an illusion? I'm not an illusion. I don't wanna know the illusion. What was that song? So let's go a bit deeper into it and let's take out capitalism and consumerism for a second, even though everyone is affected by it. So the moment we go out of the house, and we don't even need to go out of the house because we have a TV and phones all over in the house. So they are constantly feeding us all those things. That's why we feel so tempted. And when we go out of the house, let's say we go to school, we go to work, or we're just going to run some errands, we see people on the street. And this also has a lot of influence on us because when we see people, we see how they present us. And our brain has this inevitable habit comparison. So we constantly compare ourselves with the people outside in the real world on the streets as we do on the phone on social media, which is a little bit more different because on social media it is curated and it is a constructed reality. However, outside it's not so like that, but we still get affected by it. So yeah, let's say we go out and then we see people who are like us in terms of age or style. When we see them, we think, oh, I would like to have that bag. Oh, I would like to have this or that. So these little thoughts, they get into our heads. And then as the time goes by, they get bigger. And as we said, it's kind of like a chain reaction. So these little thoughts turn into the wants and then we turn them into actions. Think about it. You must have had something like this. When you were on the street, you saw something cool and you wanted and you can afford it, hopefully. So what you do is you plant that little seed, that little thought, and then by time it turns into a want. And that want turns into an action. And it's a really big thing, actually. And as I promised, I would like to talk to you about the philosophers. Let's start with Spinoza. Freedom as illusion. Let's see what he believed in. Spinoza, a 17th century rationalist, argued that humans believe they're free without realizing the true causes behind their actions. He believed that everything is determined by natural causes, our desires and our decisions shaped by biology, upbringing, and environment. He compared it like a stone rolling down a hill. It might think it's moving freely, but it's really guided by external forces. Next, we have Hume, David Hume. So he argued that free will isn't about completely being unbound by causation. Rather, Free will exists when we act in line with our desires and motivations, even if those motivations are influenced by society. He believed as long as we feel our actions arise from within, we're free. But it's unclear whether that's truly the case if our desires are shaped by external forces like advertising. So, this is a nice one because, first of all, we have to accept that there's no such thing as free will. No matter what the case is, there are so many factors and there are so many external forces that form an action or a decision. So first we accept that this is kind of impossible and inevitable. So what he's saying is that as long as we are aware of the choices we make and then we make them aligned with our morals and values, then we at least have the capacity to choose according to who we are and according to our personality. So this means that we are less likely to be influenced by external forces. Next up, one of my favorite philosophers, Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre. He argued that free will is unavoidable, similar to Hume. He says that we are condemned to be free, meaning every choice, even doing nothing, reflects freedom. However, with that freedom comes full responsibility for our actions. Critics note that Sartre overlooks how systemic factors like poverty and social pressures restrict real freedom. Okay, so let's get into this as well. This is a good point, and critics say that he overlooks. Maybe because of the time that he lived in, it could be that. This is a big part of our lives because the moment we are born, a big part of our life and a big part of our potential is predetermined because we are born in a family. We are born in a body, a physical body. We are born in a country, in a culture, and we are born in an economic group. Because I think that our actions and decisions are really powerful in our mind because we know that we make them. Even though now we're arguing that we can't make them 100%, but of course, we make our own decisions with some external factors. But I think this creates a big burden on a human mind because we can never be sure if that decision is good for us or if that was the best option. This is really hard to evaluate as a person. So I feel like this creates that like heavy burden of what if I'm making wrong decisions in my life? And the fact that time is only going forward and not going back, and that we cannot change most of these, and every little decision shapes our life so much and is irreversible is kind of like an unbearable thought if we think about it. And I know that some people are affected more than the others. I always think the decisions that we make kind of like a clay. So we have like a big ball of clay as our lives, and then every little decision we make is forming that clay. But what happens is that once the clay dries, we cannot change it. And there's always a thought of what if I'm not making the right decision? I think at some point we just have to trust ourselves, we have to trust our decisions, and we need to accept that we're not always going to make the right decisions. Of course, we're going to make a lot of wrong decisions, and when we are a teenager, we're too busy exploring life, exploring ourselves. Kind of same when we're young adults. We're too busy with the world around ourselves. We did not have time to go inwards yet. And I think something happens maybe mid-20s, I can say this for myself. We start turning inwards a little bit, and then we realize how much of our life is our decisions. And I think at some point we have to make peace with it. The right decisions and wrong decisions are a part of our life. And by the way, like, what is right and what is wrong? Why is it wrong according to what? So it might not be the wrong decision, but it might be the least best option that we choose. But this is inevitable. If we keep thinking about this, it will just have a snowball effect and it will just spiral into something bad, into something more, into something bigger. So I think that's why sometimes we are paralyzed by even the smallest decisions when there are a lot of options. Let's say that we're shopping and there's a t-shirt and the t-shirt has 10 different colors. So now all of a sudden we have to choose from 10 different colors and we don't want to. But when we are making a bigger life decision, because the options are a bit less, then we might be able to make the decision with more ease. And if you remember the meme of me finding a new jacket online, and then the guy has like 10 monitors and I'm like researching hardcore, and then like me choosing a career path, and then the guy's eyes are closed and then he's like throwing a dart. So it's funny to think like that, but I think it's because we realize how big of an impact our decisions have on our life. And sometimes the big decisions it's so heavy to make those decisions. For example, like where to live, where to move, of course, if you have that kind of option, or the career path. How do I know that this is the best job for me? How do I know that this is the best relationship for me? There's not really a way of finding out, but rather just believing in yourself that you are capable of making those decisions for yourself. Otherwise, it's really tiring. So I think it's nice to give in to the idea that we are going with the flow. Okay, I'm rambling a lot. Let's go on with our philosophers. Next one is Adorno and the culture industry. Theodore Adorno argued that capitalist societies, the culture industry, manipulates our sense of freedom. Movies, advertisements, and entertainment influence our choices in the way we don't realize. Of course, we think we choose what we want to watch or buy freely, but our desires are often shaped by social pressures, trends, and compromising true will. I think most of the philosophers have the same idea. They're talking about the same thing. Some of them are more critical than the others. And I want to talk about Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche. I also love him. He argued that human will isn't defined by rational freedom, but by a fundamental will to power, the instinct to assert and expand oneself. As we all know, he put so much emphasis on personal values and morals, and the fact that the society shouldn't shape them, but it's more on a personal level. So every person should have their own morals and values. And at the time he was living, of course, this was a very controversial idea. That's why he experienced a lot of backlash. So we can also see that idea planted in here as well. He believed that the point isn't whether we're free, but whether we can create our own values and live authentically, rejecting societal norms. Here we go. So yes, it's really interesting to think about these things because it's a really big, irreplaceable part of our lives. And then most of the time we don't think about it. I think we do avoid thinking about it because of the reason I said. It's too much of a burden to take credit for every little decision that we make. Sometimes that's why we like when other people make decisions for us. So yeah, this was the end of the chat for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed.